going on, everybody? You know what's going on is me hitting my head on this like 14,000 times.
Yeah, he's done it like 3 times sitting here in like the last minute.
Yeah, the space isn't quite enough for me to like sit up in. But anyway, today it's all about the kitchen sink. We've showed you everything but the kitchen sink, but today
we're going to show you the kitchen sink.
We're going to show you the kitchen sink.
Or actually, not just the kitchen sink. We're talking about all the plumbing that goes to our kitchen sink. So we're going to plumb the kitchen sink, our water filter for the sink, and we're going to install the tank underneath the sink and our main tank here in the back of the van.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff.
All of that stuff.
We're going to have water. We hope. He always crosses his fingers. All right, so the first thing we're going to install is our pump and our accumulator. We decided to go with Seaflow. So we've actually gone ahead.
Seaflow!
Yeah. He's really up for adoption. So we decided to just go ahead and mount it on a little board, and then we're going to attach it in where we want it. So we're going to mount it kind of like yay or something like that. And,
yay!
And then this guy is going to go with it. He accumulates stuff.
It regulates water pressure, accumulates what is it leaves the van at night and brings you things, and it just piles it under your bed.
It accumulates stuff.
It's like the Tooth Fairy, except for way more sinister and scary.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, so Sandy's putting some of this, what is it, pipe thread sealant?
Yeah.
So we searched all the internets and to try to find out if we needed like tape on the fittings or like what in the world is going to keep these things from leaking.
So yeah, it says definitely don't use the tape because the tape is more of a lubricant, and if you use a lubricant on these, it tends to have you over tighten them, and then they fail from being over tight. Whereas this is just, it's a sealant. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's a soft set sealant, so it doesn't get really hard like PVC cement or something like that would get.
Or like these.
Like his muscles.
Okay, actually I hope it gets it a little bit harder than my muscles. The consistency of oatmeal, people. Oatmeal. We have now installed our pump. Need a little back plate there to install our pump on, but our pump's going to live right here, and our accumulator is going to go right across from it. As you can see, we have this braided hose that goes from the pump to the accumulator. It'll come off the accumulator and go to a kind of a three-way splitter. We haven't put that in just yet.
It's going to look something like that.
Okay. It's going to look exactly like that. So it's going to go to the barb, then PEX to heat exchanger, and that's going to feed our hot water, and this is going to be our cold water, which is going this way. Then it's going to go through these two holes, and then these other two holes. But we're actually going to start plumbing this backwards, so we're actually going to start right here underneath the sink. Okay, so our PEX is coming through the wall, and our hot water is hooked up to the supply via this nice little cutoff switch here. We're going to put a block here to put some clamps on so these aren't so moving around all willy-nilly. Great thing about this, you can do like hand puppets. This is, I don't know what that is. Looks like a chicken. Anyway, our cold water supply is going to be hooking up to
our filter. So we ended up going with this water drop filter. Relatively inexpensive. The great thing about it is the one filter lasts for about 12 months or 8,000 gallons of water. You can, this is a 3-phase filter in here. You can upgrade them. You can get like a 4-phase or a 5-phase, which we may do. We'll see. But it's nice, compact, and it's going to fit under there perfectly. Water drop. We're not sponsored. I'm just having fun.
We're never sponsored.
We're never. All right, so we're skipping around just a little bit in this video. We were working on installing the PEX inside, but we have to wait for our little block of wood that we painted to dry to go behind that, and we don't want to start going back any further until we have that securely in place. So to pass some time while we're waiting for the wood to dry, we're going to go ahead. We are installing a sender in our main water tank. This is a 30-gallon tank that's going to go back in our garage area. So yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, this is going to tell us how much water is in the tank. And it's actually the only one that we're going to do. We're not going to do one for the
smaller tanks. We're just doing it for our freshwater. So, so the first thing we're going to do is we've decided we're avoiding this because our hole needs to be much smaller than what is right here. So we're just going to drill a pilot hole back here first.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're going. And then we just want our hole big enough to fit the big part, or big round part of the sender here through, which is about a 1 3/8 inch hole. Oh no!
That's going to be fun to get out.
It really happened, y'all. All right, so the hole's in, and we are now going to attach this little gasket. Oh, we're not going to attach the gasket. It's actually going to. We're using the gasket to kind of mark where the screws have to go because you have to actually pre-drill all these holes. So we want our little cord to go out the back of the tank. So just make sure that you line the gasket up because the holes are not equally spaced on here. So just be aware of that. But this is basically how it's going to look. Our sender is 16.5 inches long. Our tank is 17.5 inches deep. They said you should have about an inch of space at the bottom of the tank.
So this does not tell you what size hole to drill for these screws. So I'm going to go with 1/8.
Always better small and make it bigger than to be too big.
So I dropped a screw.
Yeah, this is totally what happens when you drop a screw inside.
First I dropped my hole saw. Oh, there we go. Yay!
Yeah, so we have dropped the hole saw inside, and then as we're pulling the hole saw out, the plastic fell off inside, so we had to get that out, and then a screw went inside.
Yeah, I totally dropped the screw inside. So I've widened the hole to 9/64. I almost dropped the screw in there again. Yep, so 9/64. And there it is, all installed. Well, except for that part. Okay, so water drop filter installed. And here's that little block of wood I was talking about earlier. I know everyone's waiting on that. As you can see, Sandy has done a really good job at plumbing our sink from, you can see it goes from the heat exchanger, it's the smaller 1/2 inch guy here, all the way up.
These two here are going to be for later, our next plumbing video, which is, surprise, going to be our recirculating shower. So this is our little water accumulator, and it came with some little barbs like this, but they were straight, and we were just having a hard time running those with the stiffness of the braided tubing that we wanted to use. So we had originally bought some little elbow barbs similar to this, but they didn't have this hex nut head, and so they were kind of twisting loose whenever we would kind of move the braiding. So we ordered these little guys, and they have that hex nut head like the ones that come with the kit. So now we'll be able to put those on, and whenever you get pressure on this, it just moves this and not the actual attachment.
I feel like the ones that we got earlier were like almost guaranteed to leak. So
yeah, so we decided just to go with the different one, just because we just didn't feel like there was any way that they weren't going to leak. So before we got too far into it, so we ordered these guys. They just came in, and we're going to switch those out from what we showed you earlier.
You dropped it.
I did drop it. All right, so now that we have all the water lines ran in the back, basically from the pump over to where we have connected to the sink. Now the next thing we're going to do is actually put our gray wastewater tank underneath. We are going to be going straight through the bottom of the van and into the top of the tank. We're just using a little 5-gallon tank because this is mostly just going to be for washing dishes and like brushing teeth, that kind of stuff. So we shouldn't use a lot of water for that. So,
and knowing that we have a 5-gallon gray tank is going to help us conserve water.
Yeah, it does. So like we said, we're not going to put any kind of like sensors or monitors for the levels on this. I mean, it's a pretty small tank. We'll empty it regularly, and yeah, that's what we're using. So we're going to go ahead and put the fittings, some of the fittings on the front here, and then we'll get ready to figure out where we're coming through the floor and how we're going to mount this up there.
There is going to be our drain for our sink. It's going to come down from here and go out there here into our tank. Sandy's inside taking care of the electrical portion, wiring up the pump. I've just installed some riv nuts for the strapping that's going to be holding our gray water for the sink on. Okay, tank is all strapped in. Pretty sturdy. It's not something you want flying off while you're driving. Oh, and for these beams, they're a little too thick for the riv nuts, so you need to get special riv nuts to go through thicker material, and we're going to order those. But in the meantime, we are going to paint and take care of these holes so they don't rust out on us, and we're going to trim these so they're not flapping around. That would not be pleasant going down the road. Now we're working underneath the sink. There's nothing like incredibly mind-blowing there. Most of it's just pre-made kits from Home Depot or Lowe's, whatever hardware store you prefer. But the one thing that is different, we're not doing a traditional P-trap where it kind of does that little loop-de-loop to trap smells and stuff that's coming from your tank. We're using what's called a HEPA filter, and it has a one-way flange in here. And what that does is it allows liquid and fluid to pass through as well as debris, and nothing comes back up, including smells. Full disclosure, before we test this thing out, we are not installing our main tank today. Reason being is because these fittings are 3/8. We thought they were 1/2 inch because all of our other tanks, and we had thought we had ordered a tank with 1/2 inch, but sure enough, they're 3/8. So we have parts coming in that Sandy ordered. So this is going to act as our water source. I know, not as nice as the tank, but it'll do for testing.
We can at least make sure it all works. All right, guys, are you ready to see if this works? Let's test it out. Seems like fairly decent pressure, too. It works. We're always excited when stuff works. Okay, so we just turned on the Espar heater, which you will remember that we just recently installed. So if you haven't checked out those videos, go ahead and do that. We have a hydronic heater that we are using to heat our water. So we've got that all warmed up now. So now we're going to see if we actually have some hot water. And it's hot, Jen. We got hot water. It's actually really hot. All right, guys, so it seems like everything is working pretty well. We have 2 very small leaks that we couldn't get tightened up, so we just are going to pull them off and retape them. It should fix it, no problem. But this is actually where our water tank is going to sit up here once we get all the fittings and everything on it. We're not going to permanently install it up here yet because we still have to run the plumbing for our shower. Which, if you haven't heard by now, and I don't know if I told you earlier in this video because I have a really bad memory.
We're doing a recirculating shower.
Yeah,
Take that. I just stole her thunder.
So we're working on getting all the parts in for that. So once we get that, then we'll permanently install this tank up here so we don't have to, you know, we can still reach everything, but it's just going to make it a lot easier to not have to work in a small space if we can get to it from both sides.
That water it's hot.
Yeah, really, really hot. Like, so we don't have like a temperature control on the heat exchangers themselves. It may be something we look at buying and putting on there to help control the temperature if it seems to be a little bit too hot. It did mix really well with the cold water, so we could get it to a comfortable temperature. But if you turn it on that's super hot, it is
Scalding.
piping. Yeah, scalding. It is. But yeah, we're happy with everything.
Alright guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe and give us a big old thumbs up.
Yeah, you're going to want to see that recirculating shower for sure. I mean,
Not sure if it's going to be the next video or the video after.
It'll be coming up soon.
Yeah.
Ish.
So you're going to want to hit that subscribe button anyway.
Because we're cool and stuff. Yeah. And you want to hang out with us.
All right, guys. That's going to do it for this video. And until next time, stay wonderful. I just hit my head.
You did. Like 20 times.